Those who forget about history are doomed to repeat it. History says West Virginia could end up in the college football playoff. And who said it? Well, let's talk about that on this episode of Mountaineer Paul Talks Football.
This is for Cameron.
What is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. This is another edition of Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. And you can see under my name, it says Locked On West Virginia. I don't know how that got there, but I'm just going to leave it. I don't want to mess anything up. This show is still Mountaineer Paul Talks Football, but we are transitioning the show into Locked On West Virginia. As a lot of you guys know, I will be the new host of that show. So until that's said and done, I'm just going to leave that there. But this is still technically Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. On to the show. On this episode, we're going to be talking about an article written by Andy Staples predicting not only West Virginia, but UCF to get into the 12-team college football playoff. And how is he doing it? With history. Those that forget about history are doomed to repeat it, is the saying that I led in my cold open. And I'm curious to know if that includes football, because if it does, the West Virginia Mountaineers are in a pretty good spot heading into this 2024 season and inevitable matchup in 15 days with Penn State. Let's get over to the article really quick. I'll share it on the screen, and then we'll kind of go over it a little bit and see if there's any validity to this. History says 12-team college football playoff bracket will be crazier than we imagined. This is Andy Staples a couple days ago. One side effect of college football's seemingly interminable offseason is that 9 months spent yapping with no games to confirm or deny the talking points tends to lead to some rigid groupthink, to say the least. But the numbers tell us our groupthink will be wrong. With the dawn of the 12-team college football playoff upon us, we need to be a lot more creative with our guesses for how the first bracket will actually look. Fortunately, Ralph Russo, the keeper of the Associated Press poll, has crunched the numbers for us and created a handy formula to guide that guessing. And after one spin through the preseason AP poll that was released Monday, I can confirm that it's a lot more fun and a lot more random than the "we all think these teams will be good" logic that has guided previous bracket projections. Ralph explains it all in this story, which compares the preseason AP poll to the final college football playoff selection committee ranking for each of the past 10 seasons. Using that data, he determined the best way to guess the bracket is like this. Choose 4 of the 5 teams ranked 1 through 5. Choose 2 of the 5 teams ranked 6 through 10. 2 of the 10 teams ranked 11 through 20. And choose 1 of the 5 teams ranked 21 through 25 and 3 unranked teams. These choices have to conform to the college football playoff selection rules. So at least 5 conferences must be represented because 5 conference champs receive automatic bids. Also, remember that seeding rules require that conference champs receive the top 4 seeds and first-round buys. Using these requirements, I filled out a bracket. If you've been following along all offseason, you know I believe in all 5 teams in the AP poll's top 5. Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, and Alabama will make the college football playoff. But history says at least one won't, so I had to eliminate one. I chose Texas, which did lose a lot from a team that won the Big 12 and made the 4-team college football playoff last year. This isn't a Texas can't hang in the SEC take. I had to eliminate one. The Longhorns drew the short straw. To reduce confusion in my own mind, and because we're just guessing here, I kept the rankings the same and moved Alabama up 1. So here's how those teams would be seated in the playoff bracket. Georgia, Ohio State at 1-2. Oregon and Alabama at 5-6. These are the at-large bids. It was a little easier to choose from 6 through 10, even though I put 4 of these teams in my original projected bracket this spring. Notre Dame, Penn State at 8, Michigan's at 9. That leaves number 6, Ole Miss, which returned a ton of skill position talent and beefed up both sides of the line of scrimmage in the transfer portal. It also leaves number 10, Florida State, which still looks like the best program in the ACC. So let's load these two in the playoff bracket. So that would be a 3-7 with Florida State and Ole Miss. And there's no reason to read through every bit of this. We're obviously here for one reason. This is where we get into the West Virginia UCF talk. I still needed a Big 12 champ, a Group of 5 conference champ, and one more at large. For the other at large, I was boxed out of most of the Big 10 and SEC contenders because they're ranked in the preseason poll. Auburn was a tantalizing choice, though. Instead, I decided the Big 12 would get 2 teams into the first college football playoff. Let's say KJ Jefferson returns out to be a quarterback of Gus Malzahn's dreams and UCF wins the Big 12. Now let's retcon another previous choice and say one of the reasons Penn State didn't make the college football playoffs is because the Nittany Lions lost at West Virginia in week 1. UCF with losses to Florida and Gainesville and West Virginia. Morgantown beats the Mountaineers in a rematch. West Virginia with the second loss, either at Oklahoma State or Arizona, slides into the final at-large spot. I have no idea who should get into that group of 5 spot. There are so many variables. I chose Appalachian State because if the Mountaineers make it, it probably means they handled Liberty its only loss and maybe beat Clemson before winning the Sun Belt. So that would be UCF at the 4, West Virginia at the 11, and App State at the 12. And if you'll notice, it would be an 11 versus 6 at number 6 Alabama. Call it the Rich Rod Bowl if you must. I caught that in Staples. So obviously a very interesting article there. Whoa. Talk about having your head spin. Obviously that article for me is more for fun than anything else. But it's cool that West Virginia and UCF both are kind of being included in some of these discussions. At least we're on people's minds this time of year, guys. Like the video really quick. If you can give that video a like, just click the button really quick while I'm talking, while I'm flapping my gums. Just click the button and then drop a comment below about what you think about it. What are the chances in hell? Because if obviously getting to Arlington and winning a Big 12 championship puts you in. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we move forward into a locked on roll. Be appreciative of that. Anyways, what are the odds that it happens? Well, I'm going to say they're low. I would love for this to happen. Obviously, it would make my life. It really would, as far as from a skill, talent, and in-depth perspective. This is the best West Virginia team we've seen on all 3 phases in a long time. But I don't know if it's going to be able to get through this schedule, guys, and this is going to be the biggest hang-up. And I've gone through it multiple times, and I just want to say it again. Obviously, Penn State in week 1 is the toughest or second toughest game on the schedule, depending on how good Oklahoma State or Arizona are, or Kansas State, or even Kansas. But Albany is a trap game. I will continue to say that until we get there in week 2. I really do believe they're in the bushes a little bit. I don't know what they have coming back. I haven't researched them. But if they're anything like they were last year, they're an FCS power. So those teams are always dangerous and can beat you. We've seen it happen. And then Pitt, the backyard brawl. We talk about that a lot. Could West Virginia slip up in a backyard brawl? It's certainly possible. I mean, goodness gracious, it's possible. And then you get in the murderer's row of the Big 12 schedule that we have, and that's kind of where things get a little iffy for us. I don't know how good UCF is going to be this year. To be honest, I hadn't really considered them a Big 12 contender just yet, but they were tough last year. I just don't know how much better on defense they are. And certainly they have a better quarterback situation, being that everybody is healthy. So going through the schedule, let's just say they beat Penn State, Albany, Pitt. Moving on to the Big 12 portion of the schedule, I think West Virginia does beat Kansas this year. We're going to get some get-backs from the home game they stole from us a couple years ago when they blindsided us with that Kolanicki offense and everything they have going for it. And then on the road at Oklahoma State is just going to be almost an impossible win. You know, we can win it. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, of all the games on the schedule, this is one of the least likely we're going to win. They've got an incredible linebacking core just to start off. That's really going to slow our running game down. And Ollie Gordon, which is worrisome in and of itself as well. We'll see what happens there. Iowa State coming to Morgantown in the past has been okay for us. Iowa State has played well at times in Morgantown. West Virginia has won the bulk of the games of the series. If the Kansas State game were anywhere other than home, I would feel a lot worse about that one. The Arizona game is going to be one of the toughest games on the schedule, but you never know how with the new coaching staff they're going to do. I would imagine by the time this game comes around, they're going to be in a lot better position as far as being gelled together as a team goes. And then the rest of the schedule eases up after that until you get to UCF and Texas Tech. You know, there are people that have us 6-6. And if Texas Tech and UCF both turn out to be really good and maybe one of these other teams aren't, like Iowa State maybe not being as good as we thought, or Kansas or whatever, you know, maybe the back end of the schedule is tougher than we thought. And Cincinnati, UCF, and Texas Tech are better. There's so many different variables here, and it's so hard to predict. Last year, we thought we had a tough schedule. Remember that, guys? Beginning of the year, we thought we had a tough schedule. And then come to find out, we did at the end of the year. So saying that we have tough schedules before the year is kind of to me, because last year we were all hyped up about our 11 Power 5 teams and all the things going on with it. So at the end of the day, guys, we're just going to have to play them on the field. But I did think this was a fun exercise and article to read. Would love to know your thoughts on it. Don't forget to drop a comment below, as always, like I said. Until then, guys, keep coming back. I appreciate you guys' support. Remember, we're going to be transitioning fully into Locked On soon. It'll be a different show, 30 minutes long, and we'll have fun doing that. So until then, guys, talk to you next time. This episode is over. I'm out.
This is for Cameron. Cameron.